Okay, let's dive straight into this. Because look, if you're anything like me, you probably haven't slept a wink since that final whistle blew at the Emirates. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to do a full, unvarnished tactical autopsy of our absolutely agonizing 1-0 defeat to Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League semifinal first leg. As a die-hard Arsenal supporter, man, this one hurts. It really, really hurts. It's the kind of stress that literally takes years off your life, right? But hey, we can't just sit around and wallow in the frustration of one single goal. We've got to look at the data, break down the tactics, and figure out exactly what Luis Enrique did, what Mikel Arteta tried to do to stop it, and, most importantly, why this tie is absolutely far from over. To really grasp the massive weight of this matchup, we've got to anchor our collective memory all the way back to 1994, the Cup Winners' Cup semifinal against PSG at Highbury. I mean, does anyone else remember Kevin Campbell's magnificent 7th-minute header? That was the exact night a new piece of club lore was just cemented directly into our DNA. The Pet Shop Boys' Go West was blaring over the stadium speakers, and the Highbury faithful, just so organically, so beautifully, transformed that pop song into the legendary chant, 1-0 to the Arsenal. It was an absolute masterclass of disciplined defending, that famous back four just refusing point-blank to buckle against a PSG side packed with absolute superstars like George Weah and David Ginolo. And you know, that history, it perfectly sets the stage for us. We beat them back then to reach the final, and we eventually lifted the trophy in Copenhagen. Fast forward a bit to the 2016 Champions League group stages, where we battled out two seriously hard-fought draws against them under Arsene Wenger. And now, today, the stakes have literally never been higher. We're looking at a Champions League semi-final tie, our very first since 2006. The weight of all those decades is sitting squarely on the shoulders of this current squad. Which is exactly what makes the reality of this present-day first leg so utterly crushing. The atmosphere in North London right before kickoff, oh, it was cacophonous, just electric. The fans brought the absolute noise, exactly like Arteta asked us to. But it took just 4 minutes for the Emirates to be stunned into complete drop-a-pin silence. Without Thomas Partey there to anchor the midfield, we were just pulled apart, cut right open by a glorious, agonizing 26-pass Parisian move. And this brilliantly illustrates where things went wrong early on. We've got to look at our initial defensive setup. We started the match using what tactical analysts call a delayed press. So essentially, our front line deliberately gave the PSG defense time and space on the ball. The specific goal here? It was to give our midfielders the time they needed to step up and tightly mark their PSG counterparts. The grand plan was to eventually trap them, pinning PSG deep into the corners to force a turnover, or, force them into a desperate, panicked long wall. But man, Luis Enrique clearly did his homework. He figured out exactly how to dismantle our press and completely end ousmane Dembele's 6-match goal drought. PSG specifically overloaded 4 of their players on the right-hand side, and what this did was absolutely crucial. It pinned Jakub Kiwior directly onto João Neves. Meanwhile, Kvaratskhelia brilliantly drew Declan Rice way out of position just to help Jorian Timber. And the domino effect here? It's everything. Just one structural shift left absolutely acres of space, completely freeing up Dembele to drop in, receive the ball, and take an uncontested run right at the heart of our defense. And, well, Dembele didn't miss. He rifled it into the absolutely perfect spot right from the edge of the area. The post-shot expected goals, the PSXG, on that strike was 0.48. To put that into perspective, that means a world-class goalkeeper saves that shot less than half the time, assuming it struck perfectly. It was just the ultimate sucker punch. Sometimes, honestly, you just have to hold your hands up and acknowledge a moment of sheer individual brilliance that caps off a systemic overload we simply didn't see coming. Because look, we really have to remember the terrifying juggernaut we're up against here. PSG isn't just another football team. We're talking about a club that literally drops 222 million euros on a single player, Neymar, without even blinking. Kylian Mbappe left behind a staggering, unbelievable legacy of 256 goals as their all-time top scorer. They boast immense transfer might, adding guys like Randall Muani for 75 million euros. And oh yeah, let's not forget, they are the reigning Champions League winners. This is a team built with practically endless resources designed specifically to completely conquer Europe. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how PSG adapted once they grabbed that early lead. Enrique made some super low-risk but highly effective tactical tweaks. He actually shifted Marquinhos into a right-back role, and that allowed Hakimi to push aggressively forward in possession without leaving them completely exposed at the back. And this was kind of surprising for a team with PSG's attacking flair, They dropped into a really compact 4-4-2 low block. They effectively just sat back and dared us to try and break them down. And believe me, we certainly tried. The second half was a frantic, absolute emotional roller coaster. The Emirates was just reignited, a feverish atmosphere, everyone completely desperate for an equalizer. I mean, we thought we had it when Mikel headed home from a Declan Rice free kick, only for VAR to cruelly rip it away for offside. Then, Gabriel Martinelli, at absolute full stretch, agonizingly misses connecting with a floated Bukayo Saka cross. And later, he's fantastically denied point blank by the giant Gianluigi Donnarumma and goal. Just heartbreaking. So, the crucial point is, there is a silver lining here, and our frustration is entirely justified by the data. Statistically speaking, we actually created the better chances. Look at this. We generated 1.65 expected goals from 10 shots compared to PSG's 1.14 expected goals from 11 shots. We were undeniably the more threatening team for the vast majority of the match after those opening 5 minutes. The underlying numbers literally prove we have the capacity to unlock this incredibly stubborn PSG defense. And we did it through some desperate yet genuinely brilliant in-game adjustments by Arteta. He started inverting Bukayo Saka into the middle just to get him on the ball way more frequently in those highly dangerous areas. Martinelli intentionally started making these central runs to pull Marquinhos out of position, and that freed up absolute acres of space out wide for Leandro Trossard. And, of course, we heavily relied on our massive set-piece advantage, practically terrorizing a PSG side that historically really struggles in the air. But, and it's a big but, as PSG sat deeper and deeper into that low block, we kind of fell right into their trap. They were perfectly happy to let us push the ball out wide and just blindly force crosses into a packed penalty area. The result is honestly just painful to look at. We attempted 14 crosses into the box, and only one, literally one, successfully found an Arsenal player. We basically played right into the hands of their compact 4-4-2. And as we got more and more desperate, committing more bodies forward, searching for that equalizer, we nearly lost the tie altogether. Those final minutes? Pure terror. Just complete heart-and-mouth moments. Bradley Barcola found himself one-on-one with David Raya, only to luckily drag his effort wide. And then substitute Gonzalo Ramos latches onto a long ball and absolutely rattles the crossbar. I'll be honest with you, if either of those go in, we're essentially just flying to Paris for the pastries, right? Because the tie would have been completely over. Let's move to and see how this builds, because we survived. And you know what? That survival breeds absolute defiance. As Mikel Arteta perfectly stated in his post-match presser, it's half-time, and we have a big chance to be in the final. He's spot on. It's just one single goal. We've still got a full 90 minutes left to play. And heading into the second leg, we have some serious tactical reasons to believe. First and foremost, Thomas Partey returns from suspension. His absence was absolutely glaring during PSG's goal. Having our primary midfield destroyer back, it restores our flexibility completely. It allows Declan Rice to push much higher up the pitch, and actually, think about this, it opens up the really fascinating potential for Mikel Merino to be deployed as a false nine. He could disrupt PSG's center backs and help us completely smash through that low block if Enrique decides to use it again. Plus, overturning a first-leg deficit against French opposition, it's already in the club's recent DNA. We should be incredibly proud looking at the Arsenal women's team, who brilliantly overturned a one-goal deficit against Lyon to punch their ticket to the Women's Champions League final. The blueprint is already there. That never-say-die mentality is woven right into the fabric of this club. So I'm going to leave you with this. The pressure is now entirely on Paris Saint-Germain and their own backyard. They're chasing their own elusive Champions League dreams. But we are Arsenal. We've got the data, we've got our returning personnel, and we have the history on our side. So what do you think? Can history be rewritten in Paris next Wednesday at the Parc des Princes? I don't know about you, but there is absolutely no way I'd bet against us. Keep the faith, keep studying the tactics, and I'll see you on the other side of the second leg.